We're in a fugue state right now. We don't know what's going to happen. Something's going to happen. But what we do know is going to happen is that Q was so successful and those gaming techniques were so successful that they're going to resurface. They're going to come back. And is it going to be with Q as the main character, or is it going to be a different kind of thing? We don't know. But basically, one of the ways that Q is different than an alternate reality game is that an alternate reality game, you've got puzzles to solve and you have an epiphany. You recognize the true nature of the puzzle, you solve it, and you're rewarded with more content and more puzzles. Q is just the opposite. In Q, you're using apophenia, which is the relationship of things that are unrelated. So you're finding meaning in random data. Okay? And when you have what's called an apophany, it's the opposite of an epiphany, right? It is a term coined for pre-schizophrenic states and delusional thinking. And when someone who is schizophrenic or pre-schizophrenic has this apophany or delusion as revelation, they feel the same way as someone who's had an epiphany. It feels just as good to be wrong if you think you're right, basically. Now, this isn't that strange. Anybody who's been in science or something like that will have that feeling about something and then turn out to be wrong. But that's why the scientific process is so rigorous, because you can get attached to your ideas. Okay? So what is going to happen with Q? Well, Q has taught people how to think in this way where the dopamine rush of solving a problem is intense. So Q's taught them to jump to conclusions to get that dopamine rush to solve the problem. And so Q has taught a huge number of people to think in a delusional manner. So what's going to happen next? If people can't get off this, if they can't realize, okay, this is a very bad way to live my life, then it's no problem for them to keep going. It's not related to facts. They're not solving problems. They are creating epiphanies. They're creating delusion. So if they can come up with a good story that feels good, that feels like it fits the data that's around them and makes their story work, then they can. Will they? I don't know. But they certainly don't have to. They don't need Q. They don't need Donald Trump. They don't need anybody. They just need to be able to think in this way. And I think that this is the huge underlying thing about Q is it teaches people to live as if something were real when it's not. And you can, right? You can.
Yeah, in many ways, it feels almost like going backwards in time to when we would have witch hunts or something along those lines. It's this sort of groupthink mentality where you draw this illogical set of conclusions like, oh, because this person was in the forest when they shouldn't have been, then they must be doing this other thing. And they were also talking to this person. And I actually never liked the way they were talking because there's something shady about it. And then that becomes patterns. And it only becomes true when other people reinforce that belief. So now what was initially just a series of wrong conclusions has now manifested itself into reality. And so is this something that is just built into humans? So over the last couple hundred years, we were, quote unquote, progressing towards understanding what science could do and having a sense of reality, a common shared reality. And now that reality is almost regressing backwards. Is this a trend? Is this a moment in time? Is this part of human nature? What are we looking at?
I think that the bad part of this is the culpability that people who are involved in Q have, which is if you're engaged, especially in a lot of the heavy anti-Semitic stuff, in the sort of misogyny, in the homophobia, all that part of it, that you are hurting other people to make yourself feel better. This feels right to you that, yeah, Jews are in control of the banks and that's why everything is bad. If you are promoting that, then yes, it makes you feel better because you feel like there's a solution out there and it's understandable, but you also know that it is wrong and it's hurting other people. So you're choosing your reality. You're choosing this huge body of anti-Semitic literature, which is really out there and it's really all wrong, but you're choosing to believe it as real and you're hurting real people by doing it. If you think Democrats are child eating hobgoblins, you are hurting other people. You're treating them like they're fictions in a movie. If you think climate change scientists are in some kind of evil plot to make a lot of money, you're demonizing people. You're demonizing people to make your own inner world feel better. So I think it comes down to greed, selfishness. So selfishness is a part of human nature, definitely. So if you don't have to, if your worldview works as a fiction, maybe nothing pulls you out of it. It's weird, especially right now in the United States where you've got a huge media disinformation campaign going on, where everybody's telling you that scientists are wrong and that the mainstream media is wrong. Not only are they wrong, but they're literally lying to you to manipulate you. And this is being told to you by the President of the United States of America and by so many Republican lawmakers and so many news outlets. What are you going to think? It's not even really that big of a leap. So is it part of us? Yeah, it's part of us, but also it's a part of us that's now being purposefully taken advantage of by some very bad people.
Alrighty, friends, if you liked what you heard in that little snippet and you feel inspired, make sure to subscribe right here on YouTube and head over onto your favorite podcast player to look for the Impact Everywhere podcast to find more inspirational guests just like this every single week. My name is Benjamin Von Wong, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay positive because impact is everywhere.